The late afternoon sun burned brightly over a quiet highway in Texas, the heat shimmering off the asphalt. Jake Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead as he tied in the last bolt under the hood of an old pickup truck. Business had been slow that week, and every dollar mattered. As a single father, he carried more than just tools in his worn-out truck. He carried responsibility, worry, and the constant hope that things would get better for his young son, Ethan. Just as Jake packed up his toolbox, he noticed a sedan pulled over on the side of the road about 50 yards ahead. Its hazard lights blink weakly, almost like a cry for help. Beside it stood an elderly woman, her posture fragile, her hands slightly shaking as she looked down the empty road. Jake hesitated for a moment. He had planned to head straight home. Ethan was waiting and dinner still needed to be made. But something about the woman's helpless stance pulled at him. With a quiet sigh, he grabbed his tools again and walked toward her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Jake asked gently, the woman look up, relief flooding her tired eyes. "Oh, thank goodness," she said. "My car just stopped. I don't know what to do." Jake gave her a reassuring smile. "Let me take a look." As he lifted the hood, a wave of heat hit his face. The engine was in rough shape, worn parts, loose connections. It wasn't a quick fix, but Jake got to work without another word. His hands moved with practice skill, adjusting wires, tidying bolts, and replacing what little he could from his spare parts. Time passed slowly, the sun dipped lower, but the heat still clung to the air. Sweat soaked through Jake's shirt as he worked tirelessly every now and then. He glanced back at Ethan, who sat quietly in their truck, watching his father with patient eyes. After nearly 2 hours, Jake stepped back and turned the key. The engine spattered, then roared to life. The woman gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "You did it," she explained. Jake chuckled softly. "She should run fine now, but you might want a full checkup later." The woman reached into her purse, pulling out a small envelope. "Please take this. It's not much, but it's all I have." Jake shook his head firmly. "No, ma'am, you needed more than I do." "But you spend so much time, it's okay." Jake interrupted gently. "Just promise me you'll get home safe." Tears welled up in her eyes as she nodded. "Thank you. You have a kind heart." Jake smiled, closing the hood. "Take care now," as the woman drove away. Jake returned to his truck. Ethan looked at him curiously. "Dad, why didn't you take the money?" "We need it." Jake paused, then smiled softly sometimes. Doing the right thing is worth more than money. He started the engine, unaware that this small act of kindness was about to change everything. The next morning began like any other for Jake Miller. But the weight of yesterday still lingered in his mind. He woke early, made a simple breakfast for Ethan, and tried to plan how he would stretch the little money he had left for the week. Bills were piling up, and the uncertainty of his future pressed heavily on his shoulders. Still, he pushed those thoughts aside and focused on getting through the day. As Jake cleaned up the kitchen, his phone rang, a number he didn't recognize. He hesitated before answering hello. "This is Jake," he said cautiously. "Mr. Jake Miller." A calm, confident woman's voice responded. "Yes, speaking. My name is Olivia Carter. I believe you helped my mother yesterday on the highway." Jake paused, surprised. "Oh." "Yes, ma'am, I just fixed her car." Nothing major. There was a brief silence. Then the woman spoke again, her tone softer now. "It meant more than you realize. She told me everything. How you refused payment, how you stayed in the heat for hours just to make sure she was safe." Jake rubbed the back of his neck, a little uncomfortable. "I was just doing what anyone would do." "Not everyone would," Olivia replied. "That's exactly why I'm calling." Jake felt a strange mix of curiosity and nervousness. "Is everything okay with your mother?" "She's perfectly fine," Olivia assured him. "In fact, she hasn't stopped talking about you. I'm the CEO of Carter Automotive Group, and I'd like to meet you in person." Jake blinked. I'm sure if he had heard correctly, the CEO. "Yes," she said, almost amused. "I think someone with your skill and your integrity deserves an opportunity. Would you be willing to come to our headquarters today?" Jake looked around his modest home, at the worn furniture and unpaid bills on the table. This felt unreal. I don't know what to say. "Say yes," Olivia replied warmly. "I'll have a car sent for you. Bring your son if you'd like." After a moment, Jake nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "All right, I'll be ready a few hours later." Jake stood in front of a towering glass building in downtown Dallas, holding Ethan's hand tightly. His heart pounded as they stepped inside. Everything around him felt out of place. Sleek floors, polished walls, people in sharp suits moving with purpose. They were escorted to a large office where Olivia Carter stood waiting. She was confident, poisoned, yet her smile was genuine. "Mr. Miller," she greeted, extending her hand. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you." Jake shook her hand, still slightly overwhelmed. "Thank you for inviting me." Olivia gestured for them to sit. "I won't waste your time. I've reviewed your background, and after hearing what you did for my mother, I'm convinced you're exactly the kind of person we need." Jake leaned forward, listening carefully. "I'm launching a new repair division focused on honest, community-driven service," she continued. "And I want you to lead it." Jake's eyes widened, "Let me." "Yes," Olivia said firmly. "A full-time position, excellent salary, benefits, and stability for you and your son." For a moment, Jake couldn't speak. All the struggles, the long days, the sacrifices, they rushed through his mind. Ethan squeezed his hand, smiling. Jake looked up, his voice filled with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you." Olivia smiled. "You already did. You helped someone when you didn't have to." Tears formed in Jake's eyes as he nodded. In that moment, he realized something powerful. Kindness doesn't just help others. Sometimes it finds its way back when you need it the most.